Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to Tuesday's writing lesson. For today's lesson, I need the Jade group to go and watch Miss Fernandez's video like you did yesterday. So just head straight over there, and you can either click on the link in the description below to find her video, or you'll find it on the Year 3 playlist. Indigo group, just like yesterday, you're going to be with me, but listen out for your name because there is going to be a part where you're going to have a slightly different task. Everybody else, as usual, you're going to be with me and we're doing a writing lesson. For today's writing lesson, we're not going to start off by writing the date and the LI. I'm actually going to get you to do that at the end of the lesson, just before you actually start your writing. So just keep your pencils ready, and for the time being, just listen to what we need to be focusing on today. Since we've just finished the story of Evie in the Jungle, I thought it would be nice for us to reflect on the story that we've just read. We've been reading it over quite a few weeks, so it's quite probable that some of you might have forgotten what happened at the beginning or what happened in the middle, and now we've got to the end, maybe you'll get a bit confused about what the whole storyline was. So, first of all, in a second, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds, and I want you to close your eyes and have a think. Remember, how much of the story can you remember? And can you remember how each thing happened in sequence? So what was the order of all the different events of the story that happened? To help prompt your memory, I'm going to say a few words or a few sentences that you might remember as being related to the story. So there was something at the beginning to do with Evie and photographers and journalists and her being famous. There was something about the rainforest in Peru. There was something about Professor Abigail Garcia. Then there was a boat cruise, a riverboat cruise. There were some animals like dolphins, a sloth, a parrot. There was the charity. There was the magical city of Iquitos. And then there were some more dangerous animals like a poison frog and a jaguar. And at the end, the charity was successful. Can you remember in what way it was successful? And what was the big problem or the big danger or the event in the middle of the story that we learnt about? So, close your eyes. I'm going to give you actually 20 seconds and have a think. Can you remember and visualise the story from beginning to end? 3, 2, 1, go. If you're still watching me, you should have your eyes closed. Okay, so hopefully you've remembered the story. If there's any part that you're confused about, you can always go back to your Kindle book and have a quick read. What we're going to be doing today is retelling the story for somebody who's never read the story before. What does the word retelling mean? Well, it's a prefix word, and we've actually got a clue as to what it means. The root of the word is tell, and the prefix is re. Does anyone remember what the prefix re normally means? What kind of meaning it adds to a word? We had it in words like return, redo. Hopefully you've remembered that the prefix re means again or back. So if you retell something, you're telling something again. Now the first time this story was told, it was told by Matt Haig in his book when he wrote the whole story out. Now you're going to retell that story for me and the other Year 3 teachers. Now I've already read the book, but Mr. Loza and Mrs. Riot and Mr. Goodall and Miss Raza and Miss Fernandez have not read that story already. So what you need to do is think about what were all the key things in the story. Can you remember the story from start to finish? And then you're just going to write out as much of the story as you can remember. When you're retelling a story, it doesn't have to be as long as the original version with all the same details. It would be impossible for you to remember every single word of a story that you've just read. So what you're doing is you're retelling the story in your own words. You're not using the words that the author wrote in the book. You're just taking the same story with all the same characters and all the same events and the whole same sequence, but you're telling it in your own words. It can be a bit simpler, it can be a lot shorter, but you should still cover all of the main things that happened in each chapter, for example. So that's why I gave you some time to think about the whole story altogether. Now, if you're in the Indigo group, you might not have read the whole story of Evie in the Jungle. In which case, I want you just to think of any story that you know. It could be a story from a movie, from another book or from a TV show. A story that you've read, ideally, would be best, so a story from a book, and you're just going to retell that story for me. So say the name of the story, what's the book that you've read, and then underneath, retell the whole story. So write out your own version. Everybody else, if you've been reading Evie in the Jungle, you must retell the story of Evie in the Jungle so that I can share it with the other teachers and they'll all understand what the book that we were reading has been about. What I'm looking for in a good retelling is making sure that you've not missed out any details, like if you've missed a whole chunk of the story, that wouldn't be that great. I'm also looking for you to use paragraphs. When we're writing a really long piece of text or a big chunk of text, it's a lot easier for someone to read when it's in paragraphs. So maybe when each time you're talking about a new part of the story, you should change your paragraphs. And I'm looking for you to do a bit of sequencing. So remember, we've been using words like next, after, then. Try to use some of these words so that you're showing me what order the story happened in. So that's it. We're retelling a story. Indigo group, you're retelling your own story. Everybody else, you're retelling Evie in the Jungle. So now let's write down the date and the LI, and then I want you to spend at least minimum 20 minutes having a go at retelling the story. So hopefully you have your pencil and paper ready. In a minute, I want you to pause the video, write the date, which is the 19th of May 2020 at the top, and the LI, which says retell a story. And then I just want you to, as soon as you've written the date and the LI, underneath, start writing your retelling. Just to recap, I want you to, in your own words, retell the story of Evie in the Jungle, focusing on paragraphs and using connectives. Some of the connectives I want you to use are listed there, so you can use then, next, after, eventually, finally. These are good words to use at the beginning of a sentence or a paragraph to show how two different things are sequenced in time. So pause the video now, write the date and the LI, and complete your task. If you're still watching, that means that you've already finished your task, so well done. Make sure you ask a parent or a guardian to take a picture of your work and send it in to the Year 3 email address so I can give you a ruby for all of your hard work today.